I am genuinely surprised that I haven't seen any coverage of this, but you guys know Logan Paul, right? Yeah, Mr. Alien Hat in a forest, the leader of the Crypto Zoo scam. Alleged scam. Yeah, we're not talking about that stuff today. We're talking about his drink company, Prime Hydration, and the fact that it's in a complete free fall right now. Their revenue from 2023 to 2024 dropped by 92%. 92%. But what if I were to tell you that that's only half of it? That they have the potential, due to the ongoing lawsuits that they're dealing with right now, to end up paying out something like $50 to $80 million. Let's just get started with Prime's insane revenue drop. Now, if you look up Prime drink sales, you're gonna find the same articles that I'm talking about today. I'll include some links in the description, but let's just cover a few of the general numbers here real quick. Prime Hydration's UK revenue plunged 70% from 112 million pounds in 2023 to 33 million in 2024. And if we're just specifically looking at the net profit, it was slashed by 91.6%. This is just in the UK. From 3.7 million pounds to 312,000. And for those of you living in the land of the free like myself, that is $429,000. That is an astronomical fall off. And it's not just the UK. We can still see here that the total pre-tax profit drop, that's where you're getting the 92%. But in terms of revenue, it was 70% from their UK markets and then 40% from the US. And look, I'm not an economist. I'm not like a business guy myself, but looking at these articles, they're pointing to a few different potential reasons as to why it has dropped so tremendously. Now, I think probably the largest overarching idea as to what has caused such a tremendous fall off has to do with how this was founded. This was built on hype. In one of these articles, they link this Instagram post from Design Rush Mag, and they leave this in the description for their post here, talking about Prime flopping. And the reasoning for why it's been doing so poorly is because clout isn't a business model. Prime scaled on hype, not loyalty, and it paid the price. If your brand can't survive beyond attention, it's not built to last. And I mean, let's think about that. Like, you had Logan Paul behind it, and then KSI jumped in, and they were competing against giants like Gatorade, people that have been in the business for decades at this point. And that's really where they were coming from. They were pulling in the attention from their audience. And to support this point, we can look to what they were attributing these losses to. As it says here, the decline was attributed to fewer repeat customers, reduced spending per purchase, and a slowdown in new customer acquisition, according to data from Numerator. And fewer repeat customers just make sense if you're going off the hype of the release and advertising it, as a content creator, things like that. And it would make sense that it would start drying up as soon as it's kind of lost its trend value. Especially if people don't genuinely like the drink or it's a go-to. Like, most people are gonna end up falling back to Gatorade or other drinks that honestly probably taste better, and just in general, people are more accustomed to them. You have to really set the bar and go above their expectations if you want those customers to keep coming back to buy your product. And then here we have reduced spending per purchase, which you can think about, and we'll actually get into this with their legal disputes. But when they're not getting a ton of purchases in stores, then those stores are less likely to purchase larger amounts of stock of the Prime drink to stock their shelves. And then lastly, a slowdown in new customer acquisition, which, come to think of it, when is the last time that you saw an advertisement for Prime? Now, I don't know if they're advertising on TV, but I haven't seen them on YouTube. Outside of like Logan Paul's social media, I don't really see any advertisement for it. And admittedly, I'm probably not in the audience or like the targeted demographic for them to advertise to, but I'm curious if you guys have seen anything from Prime. But now let's shift gears and talk about the 4 active ongoing lawsuits that are facing Prime Hydration. Let's start off with the largest one, coming from Refresco Beverages. Now, you guys might actually remember this one. This one was covered, it was last year, back in August of 2024. This is an ongoing $67 million lawsuit brought on by Refresco. They're saying Prime contracted with them to create a dedicated production line and promised to purchase minimum volumes over 3 years. But after sales declined, Prime allegedly refused to honor the purchase commitment. You can see here in the highlighted, defendants further have materially breached the Truesdale agreement by failing and refusing to order and purchase any product as provided in that agreement, much less order and purchase the minimum volume specified in the Truesdale agreement. And then down here, as a result of defendants' material breaches and repudiation of the Truesdale agreement, Refresco has been damaged and is being further damaged in an amount to be determined at trial and as provided by law, but in no event less than $67,710,000. But then shortly after that, still in the same period, August back of 2024, a second lawsuit filed by ingredient supplier Agravana, accused Prime of failing to pay for products it had contractually ordered. Agravana's filing described the company as having cash flow issues and noted that Prime was trying to secure credit to pay its bills. Prime denied the claims and filed a counterclaim asserting Agravana failed to meet quality standards. That case remains ongoing. And then I had to jump over to another article to see this, but that one is going on for $13 million in damages. Now, admittedly, because they are counterclaiming on grounds that the products were not like of a high enough quality, it could go either way, but we're including that as well. That is another 13 million that is still active. And then the next one I'm showing you guys, this one is for millions of dollars. I think it was something like 5 million, but as it stands, the pending lawsuit seeks to hold Prime Hydration liable for millions of dollars in civil penalties for allegedly marketing energy drinks containing certain PFAs at levels exceeding what EPA permits in the public drinking water supply, according to testing commissioned by the plaintiffs. However, in this one, in response to the class action complaint, Prime Hydration has moved to dismiss, arguing that no cognizable injury was alleged, nor were facts showing a concrete and imminent threat of future harm. The decision on this motion to dismiss remains pending. Now, there's actually a pending lawsuit that I didn't tell you guys about, and it has to do with the fact that you're not subscribed yet. What are you doing? We're pretty deep in this video. I've gotten you for this long. Just consider subscribing. It really helps out the channel. I'm trying to hit 50K by the end of the year. It's a lofty goal, but I think we can get there. And hey, if you don't like me in the future, it's just a button press to make sure I never show up again. Also, while we're at it, if you can give this video a like, if you think it's interesting, you find this entertaining, want to share it with other people, it really helps out with the algorithm. That's it. I hope you enjoy the rest of the video. Okay, so admittedly, it turns out that there's kind of two lawsuits that are being covered by this website. So I'll go into the first one here, but I just want to read this part first. One lawsuit alleges that Prime Energy is falsely marketed to children despite known health risks associated with its high caffeine content, which I'll get into after. And then the one I'm about to jump into, the other lawsuit focuses on grape Prime Energy. This lawsuit asserts that the grape flavor of Prime Energy is falsely marketed as healthy when it actually contains very high levels of harmful chemicals called PFAs. In this update as of May 14th of this year, it was a new Nature study published that day, is likely to fuel more scrutiny of Prime Energy as lawsuits continue to mount. The research identified taurine, a listed ingredient in Prime Energy, as a potential driver of leukemia progression. Scientists found that taurine supports leukemia stem cell growth by enhancing and activating the mTOR pathway, which helps cancer cells survive and resist treatment. Although the study did not link Prime Energy directly to cancer, we need to keep that in mind, the findings could have major implications in the ongoing litigation over the safety of the energy drink ingredients marketed to teens and children. And then to talk about the caffeine one, it also received an update this year saying a federal judge has ruled that consumers can move forward with their lawsuit against Prime Hydration, claiming the company misled children into buying its high caffeine energy drinks. It says the judge found that the second amended complaint contains sufficient details about Prime's alleged deceptive marketing tactics, stating that the plaintiffs outline individual allegations against Prime Hydration LLC and Congo Brands for key strategic decisions that were instrumental in the misleading branding, advertising, and representations of the health risks of consuming Prime products. Like I was talking about earlier, this centers on allegations that Prime Energy, containing 200 milligrams of caffeine per can, was marketed to resemble its non-caffeinated Prime Hydration drink, creating confusion among consumers. But then apparently, there was another class action lawsuit for allegedly understating the caffeine content in its Prime Energy drinks. According to the lawsuit filed in the Southern District of New York, these drinks claim to contain 200 milligrams of caffeine, but actually include substantially more, which is concerning given that a large portion of Prime's consumers are adolescents. The lawsuit itself is seeking damages and injunctive relief for deceptive acts, false advertising, unjust enrichment, and fraud under New York's general business law. Look, I'm not a fan of Logan, but it's like an extra amount of evil to like cut corners or even potentially, you know, since it's still ongoing, mislead children into purchasing drinks that could like genuinely pose a health risk. And on top of that, they might have had more caffeine than what was on the bottle, which again could pose a serious health risk to kids. Now I'm saying that, but like we also haven't heard stories of, you know, kids dying or like being severely injured from drinking Prime. So like who's to say how much of an actual impact that is? But it's just like, I don't know, like they just keep hitting lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit. And last but certainly not least, we have the Olympic lawsuit. This was due to the fact that the USPC alleged in the civil complaint that Prime continued to use trademarked phrases including Olympic, Olympian, and Team USA, despite numerous requests to halt the use of the terms in Prime's advertising and social media posts. They'd even sent a cease and desist letter at that time, and beyond continuing to use trademark terms, the lawsuit alleged that Prime continued to ship bottles of a special edition Team USA Kevin Durant drink, which I'm sure you guys might remember actually. But apparently it was settled, and the terms of the settlement were not disclosed in the case filed in the Colorado's U.S. District Court, so we don't know for sure. I'm assuming that it was settled, and I think it's safe to say it was in favor of the Olympics, because if it went Logan Paul's way, they never would have shut the fuck up about it. I guarantee you. And so if we take all this into account, so the $67 million lawsuit from Refresco, you know, we don't have to count the Agravana one since they're like counterclaiming, so goodbye to 13 million of that. But then if we look at the PFA's one, you know, for the grape flavoring, as well as the mislabeling or misrepresentation with the caffeine and how much is in it, it's saying roughly 5 million for the grape one, as well as like 5 to 10 million for the caffeine. So let's just say a cool 10 million. And then to top it off, the Olympic settlement was estimated, people are guessing because we truly do not know, but something between 1 to 3 million. But I guess since we don't know, let's just cut it out. That brings us to a conservative estimate of $77 million that they would have to pay. And at this rate, if they end up with the net profits that they have, that being $430,000, they're done. Now, admittedly, I'm not a business guy, not a huge math guy, but you know, $77 million to $430,000, it's not looking good. Now, the only way that I think that they could get out of this, honestly, would be number one, if they tried to like re-hype it up, but honestly, I don't think that's legitimate. But the other thing is like they try selling the company. And maybe at one point that was the goal, because I mean, they were hyping the absolute fuck out of this. Like they had Kevin Durant, but that, you know, caused the Olympic lawsuit, and they had all of these other huge influencers, huge creators that were advertising Prime, and they were making sure that they were stocked in front and all these other grocery stores and all this stuff. And maybe they were trying to build it up, get a really good, you know, company valuation of some, you know, ludicrous number, and then try to sell it off to one of the big giants. And again, I'm not a business guy, but I figure that maybe that was the goal, but then lawsuit after lawsuit, it seemed a bit less appealing, you know, to take on a company where they're in pending litigation, but they just can't help but screw up time and time again. So there was never a good point for them to try to sell the company off, because who would buy it with all these pending lawsuits? So I mean, maybe they'll figure a way out of it, but honestly, the way it's looking now, yikes. And I don't know. I thought it was really interesting to cover. I had no idea that it had dropped that bad, 92% in revenue. I'm curious to see Logan Paul wrestle his way out of this one, and it's very clear that Mr. Paul is past his prime. Yeah, you like that corny ass little thing? Yeah. Well, that's it for the video today, guys. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to leave a like, and I'll see you guys for the next video. Adios, peace, bye.